before you know, I am going to follow my instruction. Amen. The theme that we were given was discovering the victory you already had in being a son or daughter of God. And if I had to tag what I'm going to talk to you about this morning briefly, it would be sudden impact. Rocking out. So before I get started, let us pray. Gracious God, our Father, we thank you, God, for showing yourself mighty in our lives. Father, we thank you, God, for everything that you are doing. We thank you for this shift. And Father, we thank you for your love and for your correction. Bless the people, God, let them have ears to hear and hands to apply. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, I'm going to read for you 1 Peter 2 and 9, which is the scripture that we have been reviewing for the last several weeks. And I'm reading from the New American Standard Version of the Word. And it reads as follows. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for God's own possession, so that you may proclaim the excellence of him who has called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Hold your finger there and go with me, please, to 1 Samuel. That's in the Old Testament, chapter 17. 1 Samuel 17. And while you're turning there, for those of you that may or may not be familiar, chapter 17 is the story of David and Goliath. And I know that that's a pretty familiar story, so I'm just going to give you a quick overview. Pretty much, David was the youngest of 8 children of Jesse. He was not in the battle, but the Israelites were battling the Philistines, and they were waiting in the valley. The one was on one side in the hills, the one was on the other. And there was this giant, his name was Goliath. He was 9 feet tall. Now, compared to me, I'm about an average size person. I'm about 5'5". So even anybody 6 feet tall is taller than me. So you can imagine 9 feet tall. The children of Israel were pretty afraid. And suffice it to say that the story goes on where David defeats Goliath, and that's what I'm going to read for you. And it reads at verse 45. Then David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword, a spear, and a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have taunted. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will strike you down and remove your head from you. And I will give you the dead bodies of the army of the Philistines, that this day to the birds of the sky, the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel, and that all this assembly may know that the Lord does not deliver by sword or by spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." Then it happened, when the Philistine rose and came and drew near to meet David, that David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took from it a stone and slung it, and struck the Philistine on his forehead. And the stone sank into his forehead, so that he fell on his face to the ground. And what I'd like to share with you is a revelation on verse 49. And it wasn't so much about David, but it was about the stone. And during this time, the Lord says that we're a peculiar people and we're a chosen generation. But what we need to remember is that when we trust God, we can expect victory in an unusual place or a usual place. David and Goliath is just one example. The woman with the issue of blood, she didn't know. She said, "My faith, I'm going to go and touch Jesus and I'm going to be made whole." She had been to every normal, practical source for healing that she could think of. But Jesus was the unusual source. But it says that we're, in 1 Peter, it says that we're a peculiar generation. We're peculiar. So we serve a peculiar God. He's going to do wanted to just make quickly were that our lives have been molded or shaped for us to reach this point in time. If you think about a stone doesn't just become a stone. A stone is either hewn from a large portion of rock, or sometimes it has to be melded together if you're thinking about making concrete rocks, or they have to be molded if you're making clay. But any way that you look at it, they do take time. They're not developed overnight. And how does that happen with us? We think that we should have everything happen overnight. It's not an instantaneous thing. We have to be shaped. Everything that we need is in us already. But we, and I'm speaking for myself, for a long time I used to negate that which God already put in me. Because I said, well, God, I know you want me to be a stone, but what good's a stone? It's not a building. It's not a door. It's not a window. You can't see out of it. But it was for use at the time. If David would have tried to defeat Goliath using what belonged to Saul, his armor, his sword, his shield, he would have been utterly destroyed. David was even prepared for that time to be able to use what was in him. If you read previously in this chapter, it tells you, David is like, well, look, when I had to protect all these sheep, the Lord delivered me. He let me defeat a lion. He let me defeat a bear. They're bigger than him, seemingly stronger than him. Seemingly. That's like a lot of things in our lives. See, things may seem to be overpowering. Things may seem to be wanting to overtake us. But if we would say yes, Lord, look at everything you've already done. All the building blocks. And look at the stone. He's the chief cornerstone. He's going to use us for his glory at the moment that we're available and ready. And we don't know when that is. We think it's behind this pulpit. It could not be. It could be while you're getting your car washed or getting your nails done. But if we're ready and we say, okay, God, what's in me? The gift of encouragement's in me. Lord, how do you want me to use my gift of encouragement today? Oh, I can paint. How do you want me to paint? Who do you want me to bless? We make it so much about the big thing instead of what we are. And that brings me to the next point, which is size and appearance aren't as important as strategy and impact. It doesn't matter if I know this Bible from memory. It makes no difference if someone is hurting and the Lord gives me something to tell them and I don't do it. I've lost my impact. I didn't need a big platform. I had one. That's it. I had one. And I said, oh, well, that's not a big step. That was only, that wasn't, Madison Square Garden, so I don't think I should give my word. It doesn't matter. When you think about a stone, it doesn't look like much. Just like David, he was the smallest, he was the runt. His family didn't even bring him when the man of God came to anoint for the new king. He wasn't even considered. How many of you were sitting there thinking, well, God, I know you can't use me because, well, I did this, I did that, this is my past, and this is... God didn't say that. He said in 1 Samuel 16:7, he says, don't look on the outward appearance. I don't see as man sees. I look on your heart. And the rock by itself, if I hand you a stone, it's not going to do much. You'll be like, oh, what am I supposed to do with this? Now, if I'm up here and I whip it back there, and it breaks that window, it has an impact. Not only on the window, but the people sitting in the pew. Your words, your life, the things that you do, the decisions that you make, they are having an impact. They're having a ripple effect. You that are parents, think about your children. If you start their day off saying, I love you, have a wonderful day, their day is better. They are treating their friends better. They're being more willing to be obedient to their teachers. Likewise, if you have an argument, think about it. If you have an argument with your loved one, that is messing you up for the whole day. Think about when you have an opportunity to show the love of Christ, but you choose to let your feelings get in the way. When you choose to roll your eyes, when you choose to not speak, when you want to suck your teeth, when you backbite, you think, oh, that's no big deal. I didn't really do anything. Did you? You planted a seed. You had a sudden impact on them. That impact can have long-lasting effects. The other scripture that I have for you is 1 Chronicles 20, 5 through 8. First Chronicles 20, verses 5 through 8. And this is just one example of small things or one person's decision to let what somebody else didn't regard as valuable be used for the glory of God. If David had said, well, all the rest of these people are warriors and they're scared and I'm not going to do it either, the Israelites would have been enslaved to the Philistines. But because he didn't, here's what happens. And there was war with the Philistines again. And Elhanan, the son of Jair, killed Lami, the brother of Goliath the Gittite, the shaft of whose spear was like a weaver's beam. Again there was war at Gath, where there was a man of great stature who had 24 fingers and toes, 6 fingers on each hand, and 6 toes on each foot, and he also descended from the giants. When he taunted Israel, Jonathan, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother, killed him. These were descended from the giants of Gath, and they fell by the hand of David and by the hand of his servants. So I just want to leave you with just 4 points. Be strong like the rocks. Joshua 1:9 says to be strong and very courageous, that the Lord your God may be with you wherever you go. Be willing to stay in the process. And that is my favorite scripture, Philippians 1:9. Being confident of this very thing, that he who hath begun a good work in you will complete it. Be ready for use. If the stones wouldn't have been there, David would have been in trouble. Amen. Amen. And be expectant of the suddenly. Sudden instruction, sudden situations, sudden obedience, and sudden victory. God bless you.